Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this presentation on metagamy and the Qadence Emergent Designs investment opportunity. The video should take no more than 30 minutes. During that time, I'll cover three different areas. The first is metagamy itself, why it's unique, and why we're so excited about the opportunity that it presents for an investment in Qadence. The second is the strategy that we intend to apply to make this all happen. And the third is the Qadence company information and more on the investment opportunity itself. First, let's talk about metagamy. We had a granddaughter born 4 months ago whose name is Piper. And a couple of weeks ago, as I was reading to Piper from one of the books in her library, this being an example of her library, I realized that there's a strong correlation between the books that we read to children who do not know how to read or write and metagamy, a tool for users who don't need to know or want to know programming itself. The books in Piper's library consist predominantly of pictures with very few words. The idea being that the person reading the book can share stories about the kitten and the puppy, how they played together, and be creative and imaginative to build and weave whatever story around the particular book he or she wants and communicate to the child, even at a very early age, using pictures as the means of doing that. Which interestingly isn't that much different from the way our ancestors communicated with pictographs. Drawings on caves provide a means of communication enhanced by verbal communication about the pictures so that they could describe where they hunted, what they did, how they got to where they hunted, and pass on stories from generation to generation. All preceded formal language. But as civilization grew and evolved, language became a key part of how we communicate. Letters, words, sentences, and books actually are the predominant way that we communicate information between people because it gets to a much broader group of people. Books such as the Culture Code and tens of millions of other books are very similar because they have lots of words, no pictures. And as a consequence of that, we're able to, in a very broad way, educate, describe, explain, clarify, illuminate, define, refine, all very positive characteristics of the written word. As a consequence of that, though, there are some somewhat negative byproducts, if you want to look at it that way, because books, by their very nature, constrain to the topic or the theme that's being discussed in the books. There's a structure, a restriction. The books limit what's being communicated to what's in the book, of course. They confine, control, all of which are characteristics that are necessary because of books and the way that they're organized and presented. It's not at all surprising that in the early days of computers, the computer experts knew that people couldn't communicate with computers, at least not on a broad basis, using zeros and ones, as in fact the computers actually communicate. So they leaned on what they knew, which was the written word, as the basis of how people would talk to computers. And computer programming languages were developed that needed to constrain, structure, restrict, limit, confine, control, in order to be very precise with what is told to the computer so it does precisely what is required. So programming languages such as you see here were created to accomplish that. That include many English language words and other words that may not be quite so apparent to someone as English language words. This particular piece of code takes a name, first name, middle name, last name, and does actions on it so that at the end it delivers the first name only from that full name. And this programming language, this and others, is the typical way in which computer professionals communicate with computers. And that's fine for the things that it does do. But there are these people out there called end users, the people who use the results, that see the reports, that get the paychecks, that look at the accounting information presented by computers. And as far as it goes, the work that is done using programming languages is perfectly satisfactory to users. The key is as far as it goes, because end users want to do more. Their world is more dynamic, while the computer languages, like the written word in books, are restrictive. They need to do ad hoc analytical things to understand more on an ongoing basis about their marketing or their financial or their budgeting, and the tools that are available to them typically from IT professionals and computer departments don't do that. So users end up confused, frustrated, angry over the fact that they're not able to do all that they believe they could do with the computer because they don't know how to program and they really don't want to learn how to program. Metagami was designed for end users, and it's only recently that I come to realize why it has become so effective as a tool for end users. And the reason because Metagami communicates with users with pictures, just like Piper's books. The pictures are actually built on pages. Metagami users create a page by clicking the button that says New Page. And then they put fields on the page by clicking the button that says New Field. And they begin to create a picture which they can enhance by moving the fields around and organizing them away the exact way that they want to see them, not unlike the stories that those who read books to young children create around the pictures in those books. And in Metagami, if the default field, such as you saw on the preceding pages, isn't satisfactory, you can hit the right mouse on the page and bring up a set of other pictures, we call them icons, that are included in this blue oblong, that allow you to change the nature of the fields so that a field can become a graph, a multimedia field, a word processing field, a table. And when we convert to the run mode with the click of the run layout button, you see the result of that. The user can get graphic results presented. They can do word processing in fields. They can have images such as this shirt, or audios or videos. They can have tables. Anything a user can put on a piece of paper, they can use in their creation of what they want the page or the set of pages to look like. And the consequence would be a very attractive looking page such as this that will be very useful in gathering, in this case, information about individuals that the user wants to stay in touch with. I realize that the pictures in the picture books are analogous to the pages in Metagami, and the way in which the reader communicates with children is the way in which the user can communicate with their own pictures, aka pages, in Metagami. Users are no smarter about computer programming languages than children are about English language from a written perspective. So the analogy is perfect, and the reason Metagami responds and appeals so well to end users is because they don't have to learn a language to communicate with the computer, just like Piper doesn't need to learn a language to communicate with her parents or others who read. And in the same way as the pages/pictures in Metagami relate to the pictures in Piper's book, so does the Metagami, or so do the Metagami themes apply to the book of pictures. Metagami theme puts together a bunch of Metagami pages to serve a particular purpose. The Metagami crane theme being designed for small and medium-sized businesses to enable them to run their organizations, capture information about employees, products, contacts, all the items you see on this picture page of a menu that allows the user to click buttons, pictures, to go where they need to go to do what they need to do to manage their small business. When the company that preceded Qadence was created, and Qadence, the vision was always to provide software for end users, software that would specifically address the user's needs as they see them, not the way IT professionals understand them. And Metagami is the incarnation of this vision. Metagami is a fully integrated, fully comprehensive solution to address the needs of small and medium enterprises, actually very large as well, but it enables any of them to manage data and create information from that. And using Metagami and the themes or applications that value-added resellers create provides a very comprehensive solution ecosystem for addressing the needs of businesses, whatever they may be. And the reason Metagami is so effective at doing that and is completely unique in its offering is because of 4 characteristics, which when combined together make Mainstay totally unique in the marketplace. The first of the 4 is that it's simple. It's actually easier to use than Excel in many ways, or as easy in others. Excel being the tool that end users use most extensively. Most popular tool is in fact no less difficult. Metagami is no more difficult to use than Excel. Second characteristic that differentiates Metagami is that it is dynamic. Users' needs change all the time in response to what they realize that they didn't know before, or in response to changes in the world they're living in. Metagami pages and fields can be built anytime and connected anytime as easily as the click of a mouse and the process that I outlined a moment ago. Metagami's third characteristic is that it's totally customizable. Users can build whatever they want. They can create whatever stories/themes they want in the same way as they can create stories around the books that are used to communicate with small children. All the different kinds of fields that I mentioned to you are what I'm talking about when I say data integration. Whether it's word processing, tabular, images, characters, it doesn't matter. Anything you can put on a piece of paper, plus audios and videos, can be used in a Metagami development. The 4 characteristics, simple, dynamic, customizable, and data integration, define Metagami's uniqueness and make it the powerhouse that it is. As testimony to this, we have a number of people who have made comments and are willing to have us share. Nick Emmerich, former COO of Nexus Lexus, says Metagami should be on everyone's computer. Ted, who was the manager of a very sophisticated project at Boeing, was amazed that it had indicated there was no other product with which he could have created this very sophisticated global assessor application. Bob Wilson was the tech person on Ted's project. He was amazed at how he could do in a few minutes what it would have taken weeks to do in other products. Jeff, who's the owner of Alliance Mortgage, comments on the beauty of Metagami and its ability to integrate with other applications, computer tools that are necessary to his and other businesses. One of the most meaningful testimonials I received recently is from Chris. Chris had a 20-year career in financial management, including 3 years at Oracle and 2 years at Salesforce. He is the epitome of the end user Metagami is designed to address, and because of his experience in databases at Oracle and in the contact management CRM that Salesforce provides, he's perfectly positioned to appreciate what Metagami can do in comparison with those products. He said, "I've never seen anything like Metagami, and I only wish I had it 20 years ago when I was using Excel to do my modeling and analysis." Testimonials from many others. The one that I'm most intrigued with came from Braden, who was 11 years old when he sat down in front of a computer screen and built in about 45 minutes an application with his fingers exclusively on the keyboard. He had never seen Metagami, never had seen any business software, yet built a very legitimate application, after which his comment, when I asked him what he thought, was, "It's awesome. It definitely wasn't hard at all." If that's not validation of the simplicity of Metagami, I don't know what is. Metagami has been used for a number of custom developments. Boeing, the one I mentioned earlier, NASA, a flooring company, Footprints Floors, a microbrewery, did work with a cannabis cultivation facility. In addition to which, Mainstay Solutions has developed many themes that it is offering commercially. One of which, well, before we get to that, the concept of a theme is that it's applicable to a particular kind of user, particular kind of audience. The themes that we've developed were all developed in version 1 and had been successful in their respective markets before we were forced to pull Metagami and the themes from the market because of the performance issues I alluded to earlier. Qadence development of version 3 was designed to surmount and overcome the performance issues, which it has, and version 3 is the first legitimate broad-based entry into the commercial market. The first theme that we were very successful with is the butterfly theme. The butterfly theme was designed for nonprofits and was focused initially on Down syndrome associations, where it provided a single tool, single integrated environment to connect all of the different kinds of data that Down syndrome associations and other nonprofits have to keep, typically in a variety of different unconnected spreadsheets. The TULIP theme is another fully integrated system for organizations who provide direct support to individuals with developmental disabilities. Once again, a disparate set of data all brought together in a single integrated Metagami environment called the TULIP theme. You saw previously the crane theme for small businesses. The dragon theme is a fully integrated system for cost estimating and proposal preparation and analysis for very large aerospace defense contractors and government agencies. If we look at the market for only those 4 themes, plus marijuana cultivators, you'll see in the first column that says total available market, $71 billion is the total market size of those 5 different areas. Clearly, we're not going to be able to attack the entirety of that market, but the serviceable, obtainable market of about 150 million, 141 exactly, is the market that we think is obtainable in those 5 areas. But that doesn't take account of areas beyond that that we're now pursuing with others, the other markets that will be addressed with value-added resellers beyond Mainstay Solutions, and just the general breadth of opportunity in terms of revenue production from the Metagami product. When you think about competition, in one sense, Metagami is competitive with most any other computer tool. Microsoft Office, Excel, Word, any database, any programming language, any development tool, because those tools have elements of Metagami, none of which have all the 4 characteristics that so uniquely differentiate Metagami. We believe that Metagami is really competitive with no one because no one other product has all of its characteristics. We in fact believe Metagami is its own category that we call user-centric software. We believe Metagami is to software as Mac was to hardware, the vehicle that allowed users to access hardware who had no computer knowledge, allow the same kind of user with no computer technical knowledge can access software using Metagami. The end user category, the user-centric software category that we intend to define, we believe as the founder of that category, will enable us to generate 65 to 85% of the revenue from that category if we're successful, just as other category kings like Uber, Airbnb, Cirque du Soleil have generated that proportion of the revenue in their own respective categories. We don't see anyone on the market who is positioned to become category king of this new category except Metagami. Now that we've covered Metagami, let's talk about the second area I wanted to focus on, which is our strategic plan. It's very simple. It has three elements. The short-term strategy, which is to use Mainstay Solutions, the value-added reseller that I own, and the owner of all of the themes that I've alluded to establish the credibility of Metagami in those respective, in the markets that for which there are themes. Once we've done that, we move to the long-term strategy, which is to introduce Metagami to other value-added resellers, and to do so with the credibility that has been established using Metagami by Mainstay Solutions in a variety of markets. We expect that to take 12 to 15 months, and then in about 2 years, we want to capitalize on what we believe will be success in a variety of markets and launch this new user-centric software category with Metagami as the category king in that category. We intend to use social media extensively in doing this, and the various elements are going to include a 90-second video that's in process overviewing Metagami, an animated version of our logo, at least a weekly post on Facebook, LinkedIn, and our Metagami blog about articles designed to enhance our credibility in the target markets, articles that are reposts of other relevant topics, videos, some more salesy-oriented Metagami publications. We intend to boost our Facebook posts and run Facebook ads, which cost money. Not a lot of money, but it will allow us to target more specifically those that we want to focus on. We will use LinkedIn extensively. It is the business network. Email, we will send emails. We currently have a 3,000 person email list, which we intend to increase exponentially. We want to be involved in forums and groups related to our target markets. We will have no-cost ads we can attach to YouTube videos published by others. We have a very clever idea about a contest to introduce Metagami to value-added resellers and power users. We want to do personal social branding for me and others in the company to establish a person-to-person rapport with our target market, and public speaking on topics of interest at places of interest. Fortunately, there are lots of resources that we've come in contact with and tools that we've either acquired or intend to acquire to capitalize on this social media focus. Diana Smith is a graphic designer who will help us redesign a new website. Your online advisors will either be the organization that we will pay to build the website, or with their permission and encouragement, we will do it offshore so that they can then do the SEO strategy, search engine optimization. It helps dramatically increase the exposure of the website and what's on the website. Your online advisors will be our consultant on that. We will use Rocky Mountain Photography for professional video production that we need. We've hired a summer intern, Maria, who is learning Metagami and will soon be helping us with our blogs and social media management. Dan Pros will actually provide the strategy consulting on social media. Andrea Doré has already been our copywriter and edited one article that we published. She has 4 more in process, and I have dozens more to give her. The tools are quite intriguing too. We have bought a tool that will allow us to dramatically increase our email strategy and manage that process. We are planning to buy a tool that will enhance our LinkedIn strategy. We have bought LinkedIn sales support. We have purchased another Facebook ad strategy tool that will facilitate that. So we know the resources and the tools that will let us launch an effective campaign, and we're waiting for funding before we actually pursue it because we want to do it in an orderly, consistent fashion. Oh, and I forgot the ability to attach ads to YouTube videos, as I mentioned earlier. The third area that I wanted to focus on after Metagami and our strategy is Qadence and the investment opportunity. In version 1, we generated $2.5 million in revenue from consulting and product sales in the very markets that we intend to go back into with the themes that I mentioned. Boeing, NASA, and Cubic Defense comprise the aerospace defense contacts that we made and projects that we worked on. Down syndrome associations, a number of them bought our product very quickly before we had to pull it. We sold to many organizations that provide direct support to individuals with disabilities, a few small businesses, large group homes in Switzerland, a marijuana cultivation facility, huge opportunity there. Interestingly and positively, the team of people who have built Qadence from 2014, when the decision was made to rewrite the product from scratch, are three principals in the Transept organization. Tim Baumgartner is the founder of Qadence, was the vice president of development at Qadence, and has incredible technical expertise, understands, more importantly even than that, end users and the need to deliver capabilities that they can relate to. My background is quite extensive. I've run a number of companies, introduced many products successfully, but probably my best strength is I am a frustrated end user, and I can relate to those others who are. Ulrich Gugesberg has a CPA in the United States, even though he is a Swiss national and lives in Switzerland. He is was a consultant of the Swiss government in financial and economic matters, was the youngest comptroller at Hoffmann La Roche, the huge pharmaceutical company that offers Valium, among other things. And Ulrich and I were the largest by far investors in Transept and are similarly in Qadence. There are 1 million shares of stock authorized in Qadence, of which 875,000 are owned by the three principals, Ulrich, Tim, and me, and 125,000 have been purchased by outside investors for less than $250,000. Unlike the way we raise money at Transept, at Qadence we have only raised money when it was absolutely necessary to launch us to the next area of focus, the next plateau that we wanted to pursue. Metagami is by and far the largest asset of Qadence, and there's some modest amount of hardware and software as well. We're seeking $50,000 to $100,000 in capital. We will be issuing 5,000 to 10,000 shares of common stock at $10 per share to accomplish this, which values the company at $10 million. The first $50,000 will be used to fund the social media campaign. The remainder will be used to fund social media as well as to enhance Metagami to incorporate some additional features that we are anxious to include. This is a quote from a magazine that I forgot to write down. Hate to not have the source, but I saw this a couple of years ago. Microsoft has generated in excess of $100 billion in profits, not revenue, profits, in the last 10 years from mainly two products, Microsoft Office and Windows, both of which are decades old. The evolution from the first business end-user product, VisiCalc, to Microsoft Office, which included Word, first of all Lotus, and then Word, and then Excel, and then Microsoft Office, took 11 years, from 1979 to 1990. It's been 30 years, almost, since a new significant Office application has been introduced. We believe that Metagami, filling that need and defining the user-centric software category, has the means of doing that, becoming the next big, quote, killer app for end users in the business market. Three major aerospace entities have used Metagami for large to very large projects: Boeing, NASA, and Cubic Defense. Of the four project managers on these projects, two, the individuals from NASA and Cubic, were early investors in Qadence, and two, NASA and Boeing Phantom Works, have provided glowing testimonials. Ted from Boeing Phantom Works is the one who provided testimonials and would have invested, except at the time we were raising money, he was retiring and decided it wouldn't be a good use of his capital. But the key to this is that those with the most real-life experience with Metagami are those who are firmly committed to its success. You don't get better testimonials than that. In conclusion, I promise to talk to you about Metagami, our strategy, and Qadence, the company, and the investment opportunity. Within Metagami, we talked about the four branding elements that so significantly define and differentiate Metagami. It's simple, it's dynamic, it's customizable, and it integrates all types of data. And when you combine that with this overarching picture orientation, it becomes more clear why Metagami is so unique in the marketplace. Strategy, as I mentioned, is extensively social media, but includes trade shows and other speaking events and email and other marketing that will be appropriate to what we're trying to accomplish. And finally, we talked about Qadence, the company, the fact that we are raising $50,000 to $100,000 at a valuation that values the company at $10 million. And that we perceive this as a huge opportunity for growth, not only in known, but in untapped and unknown markets as well. We believe clearly that the value of stock will grow dramatically as the next years unfold, as Metagami becomes more well known in the market. And we're inviting you to join us in this project by investing in Qadence. I hope that this has opened your eyes as to the opportunity and hopefully encouraged you in that decision, and would love to chat with you further if you're interested in more detail or in talking about acquiring stock in Qadence. My phone number is 303-478-9312. Please give me a call to discuss any aspect of this opportunity or Metagami.